Superintendent Pletka, members of the Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and our esteemed audience. We are very pleased this evening to be able to provide you with a safety presentation. Again, this safety presentation, it really provides you with an overview. We do so many things here related to safety in the Fullerton School District, but tonight really is an overview of what we're doing to make sure that we keep our students, our staff, our parents, our family, and our community members safe as they visit our Fullerton schools and as they are involved in all of the activities. I think as Trustee Thakur said earlier, really Fullerton is the heart and soul of Fullerton School District is the heart and soul of Fullerton. And as a result, we have many, many activities that go on, and we want to make sure when everyone is on our campuses, they're safe. I'm very excited to announce and introduce to you all of our esteemed speakers this evening who will all be taking part in this presentation. I have Joshua Holmes, who is our Director of Innovation and Instructional Support, Jeremy Davis, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Instructional Support, Mari Montgomery, who's our Risk Manager, and I have Sergeant Eric Bridges from the Fullerton Police Department. So we're excited to have them all here with us. They will all be taking part in this. They're not just here to make me look good, so don't worry, they'll be speaking as well. So tonight, there's a lot of things we could present on safety, but tonight is really focusing in on what we do on our campuses to provide physical safety and facility safety, as far as the structure and really what you would call the hardscape of our schools, how we provide structure and support for that safety. We also will be talking about our employees and our community partnership, and what do we do to help make sure that they are trained and prepared to provide safety, and how are they helping keep our schools safe and making a good school climate. And then we'll be talking about information technology, really more on the structural side. Just a little preview, in August, we're going to be having our social emotional learning team, our child welfare and attendance team, and our mental health team all coming back to do another presentation to more focus on those sides of safety. But tonight, this is really where we're focusing. So some things that have happened on our school facilities over the last year. All of our schools have fencing completely surrounding the schools, and they have a single point of entry. So once the student day starts, for someone to get on the campus, they go to the office, and they have to go through the office in order to get onto our campuses. So those schools have the perimeter fencing all the way around them, and it provides a very safe environment for our students and ensures that anyone who's on campus has first been vetted and checked through the office. We also ensure that all of our doors can be locked from inside the classroom. We also use what's called a lock block, which you'll see down there further. That lock block ensures that that door can stay open when students need to go in and out, but in the event of an emergency, that lock block can be quickly closed, so that door also stays closed. We also ensure if there are any doors that are on the perimeters of the campus, that those doors remain locked and closed throughout the school day. We have window coverings on all of our outside-facing windows, so students, if there was an event where we wanted to make sure we could conceal students, those window coverings are in place to keep students safe. We have a fairly robust system of security cameras. We are able to see what happens on campuses, and we're able to see if an event does happen, what has happened, and how can we ensure we know what's going on. Another great point, and part of our partnership, is our Fullerton Police Department has access to those cameras. So if they needed to see what was going on at a campus, if they wanted to have eyes on anything that may be happening, they have access to go in and see what's happening on those campuses. Our phone systems have been upgraded. We have what's called a voice over internet protocol phone system that allows for a much more robust phone system than the old copper wire system we had, allowing things such as being able to know when where a phone call is coming from on campus, instant dialing out of 911, other requirements like that that ensure safety on the campuses as well. This year, we inspected every single playground on every single campus and every single piece of equipment. We additionally trained staff to ensure that those inspections are happening monthly. So we go through and make sure that all of that equipment is safe. Anything that needed repair, replacement, upgrade was addressed, and so all of that equipment is in top-notch shape. As I mentioned earlier, we replace our lock blocks annually. We also have done something new this year, which is a site workplace violence assessment. The state has passed a new law that by July 1st, every employer, including school districts, will have in place a workplace violence prevention plan. And as part of that workplace violence prevention plan, we had a team of individuals from the school district, along with a team from the school, that inspected every campus and did a safety assessment. And that safety assessment allowed us to determine, are there any issues that need to be addressed, and to help us develop our workplace violence safety plan. And then we also have the creation of our FSD safety brochure, which we've provided to all of you, so you can have a good idea of what that looks like. We will be doing some updating as some faces have changed, but it's just a great way for the community to be able to know all of the features we have in place in regards to school safety and what we do to ensure our students, staff, and community are safe. We also provide a lot of training for staff, and we train students, and we also train even volunteers on the campus. So every single month on our campus, you're going to see that we have a fire drill. And yes, all students exit the building, everyone goes out with safety backpacks, attendance is taken, and we also check and see how long does it take for students to get out of the building, because in the event of a fire, we want to make sure everyone gets out safely. We as well do monthly earthquake drills, and we do monthly intruder drills to ensure that in the event of any sort of an emergency, whether students are in the classroom or out elsewhere on the campus, we practice and we drill so everybody knows exactly what they need to do. We also have a robust emergency preparedness plan in place, which involves parent reunification, which is what do parents do if we have an emergency and they need to pick up their students while school is in session. And we practice again and drill to make sure that that works. We have crisis communications, that we have two-way radios that we're able to communicate from the district to the schools and from school to school, as well as we have, in the event of an emergency, satellite phones. In case cell phones were to go down, our radio system weren't to work, we do have a satellite phone system in order to ensure we could have communication. And then we also use a incident management system where we have what we call our Emergency Operations Center, which can be set up here at the school district to oversee an emergency either at one site or a number of sites. We also have a mobile emergency operations system, thanks to JD, Mike, and their teams, which have enabled us to make sure if we can't use this building or any of our other buildings, or we need to roll out to a site with an emergency operations center, we have that available. This year as well, we have completed active supervision training for our playground and noon supervisor staff. So last year we provided a training before school started, we provided a training in the fall, and a training in the spring. Staff members who attended the trainings and passed an assessment each time were provided with a certificate and recognition of having completed all 3 trainings and shown mastery. We will repeat that again this year because it's important that our playground supervisors understand safety, they understand how to properly supervise and work with students, and they also know when to look for signs of things that they may need to intervene with.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes.
This is active playground supervision.
Correct.
How is this different than what we tend to think our noon or our supervisors on the playground are doing?
So active supervision really is moving and working within an entire area. Every supervisor is assigned an area, and moving, working with students, interacting with students, and really looking for ways to encourage and deal with incidents while they're incidents before they become problems. As well, our supervisors are looking for, are there any safety issues? Are there issues with fences? Are there issues with any of our grounds or any of the facilities, the playground facilities? And keeping an eye and being aware of what's going on outside the fences. Is there something they should be aware of that immediately they need to contact the office so that we can get some other outside intervention if needed?
Is there a similar program for our junior highs or older kids in the K-8s?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we have supervisors there as well, and we provide them as well with training. We also, at our junior high specifically, have what we call school safety monitors. And they actually have not just the active supervision training, but a higher level of training, especially in regards to, for example, this year we provided guard cards, which is what's our private security cards, and what does that look like, and had them trained on those. And we have monthly meetings as well with our school safety monitors to ensure that they are prepared and ready to face any number of things that may come on the campus. The other thing that we did is in September 2023, we ensured that every school has Narcan. And Narcan is the antidote, essentially, to an opioid type drug. If we ever had a student or a community member that was on opioids and was under the effects, that Narcan can be used to counteract what is happening as far as the effects of the opioids. So we have school staff that are trained during the day and our after-school staff that are trained, all of which have access to that Narcan in order to ensure students are safe.
You said that's at every school site?
That's at every school site, correct?
Awesome.
And in all of our after-school programs
Awesome.
as well. And just a little more on staff training. Don't want to go too far in depth, but we have trained, as I mentioned, all of our school safety monitors, and they are as well trained on a monthly basis with issues and new information that we receive. All of our school safety monitors have also received the unarmed security guard training and all carry what we call a guard card, which is what's required of anyone who is a private security guard or a security guard that provides training at an event, wears one of the badges. Our staff is trained in
guard card. Is that what you said? Is
guard,
that like a certification?
guard card. It's actual a card, right, which is issued that
Identifying
identifies
them?
that they've passed the training
Okay.
and that they're certified.
Got it. Thanks.
We also provide first aid, CPR, and stop the bleed training to staff. So on every campus, we have multiple staff members who at any time could respond in the event that we needed any of those three items. We have what we call nonviolent crisis intervention training. Throughout the day, whether it's with students, maybe adults, maybe folks off campus, there are incidents that arise where someone may be elevated. They may be showing signs of stress or trauma, and staff is really trained in how do we intervene and help to calm the situation and really bring calmer heads and a calmer reaction to a situation as needed to ensure that students, staff, or community members are not injured. We have a number of our instructional assistants who are trained. All of our instructional assistants in special ed have received training in addition to our school principals, our psychologists, our mental health associates. We have a large group of individuals, and we're increasing this training and providing it to more and more staff as each year goes on.
The school safety monitors have had that training too.
Yes. And I do as well. That's a blue card, by the way, if you've been trained in that. So if you see someone else the blue card, they've been trained in NCI as well.
It's like start collecting all the
Yes,
cards.
all colors of the card, yes.
That's awesome.
As I mentioned, we have trained staff on inspecting our playground equipment. So we have trained inspectors who can go out and do go out monthly to inspect all of our equipment to ensure everything is safe. And then we also have AEDs, which are the defibrillators, and those are at every school in both at the regular school or accessible to the after-school program, or in places where we need two, we have two. One of the things that we've added this year, which really enhances the program, is a monthly inspection process that's controlled electronically to ensure that those devices, the batteries are at sufficient level, they're charged, and everything inside of them is in working order, because if we need it, they'll be ready to go. Okay, so they are inspected by the site, but they're monitored here by risk management, by Mari and her team. And I know Mari, as she went out and did her workplace inspections for the workplace violence, she did look at every one of those AEDs as well. She and Letty are very, very involved with our AED program.
That's amazing. Thank you.
All right, and now we'll move on to Jeremy and Joshua.
Thank you. Also, even though Scott's not up here presenting with us, I always want to give us a shout out to Scott Schlops and his team, because everything you saw on that first slide that's facilities, it's all Scott and his folks. So always giving a shout out, because the amazing, incredible amount of work that was done on our facilities for the last 3 years was just beyond reproach. So always want to make sure Scott's taken care of with a shout out, right? Great job, buddy. All right, I'm going to start off, then I'm going to turn over to Josh. So a couple of our, and again, this is the IT side of the house. So if you're thinking, where's the digital wellness? That'll be in August when we move towards the SEL mental health piece, because it belongs a little more over there. This is sort of that pure IT play. So the two I'm going to talk about really quick are our mobile device management upgrade. We moved to a whole new system for mobile device management, more expensive, but also a lot of great features. And one of those features is that parent iPad control. We've been asked for that. We went out and researched that and found that the Mosel system gave some really cool pieces of control for the parents after school. Mosel and Raptor are probably the only two words we're going to use today where we actually tell you the name of the vendor. So as a board, if you say, oh, what do we use for that piece of cybersecurity? Please don't ask that, because one of the things we don't want to do is tell the world exactly how we secure everything, because then it makes it easier for someone to attack us. So we're going to go ahead and leave out some of our vendor names as we go during the presentation. But the MDM upgrade, that's been great for a lot of things. It's been really good. We've had a lot of great response back from the teachers, because it's changed how the teachers interact with the iPads, how the students interact with the iPads, and then how my staff interacts with the iPads. We're going to save upward of like 300 hours this summer in how we interact with the iPads. Yep, Nate's very happy about this, because honestly, we touch every device every year, so 12,000 touches on devices every summer. But this new Mosel program has dropped our number of touches per device drastically, so benefits all around there. And then our Raptor visitor management system and support. So every single school site has the Raptor management system in place for all of our volunteers and all of our visitors who come in. They are checked for the DOJ through their driver's license and given that 1 day sticker with the date right on it, so they know if they keep it to the next day, you can tell they shouldn't have kept it because the date's right on it. So it's not something you can just sort of keep with you. But that's that. And I'm going to turn over to Josh Holmes, our Director of Networking and Information Systems, to talk more about cybersecurity infrastructure.
So regarding the cybersecurity side of things, first off, two-factor authentication can prevent about 95% of the common cyber attack. And so if we look at our two-factor authentication journey, starting in the beginning of the year, we had about 20% of our staff two-factor authenticated. As of today, we are now at 88% of our staff two-factor authenticated, so we're growing. It was a process, yes.
I know. I was about to say. I'm hoping everyone on the board was able to.
Not
go
going to see
through
any
that.
names here right
Thumbs
now.
up from everybody here. Okay, good.
But I am personally calling every single one on the list that's left, so don't worry. Regarding network intrusion tests, we work with Orange County Department of Ed, who penetrates and goes into our network to find areas of weakness so we can patch up those vulnerabilities and keep improving our network. We also are applying a phishing awareness and assessment, where it really has helped us to see where we can help our staff improve on how they identify phishing emails, what to do when they get a phishing email, and the process of that. We identified a lot of areas that we can grow in. We also provided staff development and parent education on key areas of how we can use technology, and then also cyber safety, especially at the home. That was the area, and we did that through different presentations throughout the year. Also, we upgraded our district data virtualizations, particularly for data recovery in the case of a ransom attack. So we're able to use immutable backups to bring up things in case that was to happen. With the solution we have, if we had a ransom attack, we would be able to recover that document or file that they have holding ransom for us. So we wouldn't have to get that.
Just to jump in one thing there, though, real quick. So we have what's called immutable backups, thank you, Josh, which means that once it's stored, it can't be changed by the ransomware. The problem a lot of districts face, the reason they pay out, is if someone gets the file of all the data, whether it's social security numbers of staff, they might grab it and we can continue with business. It's called business continuity. But they still have a file and they'll threaten to release it to the world with all the social security numbers if we don't pay. So there's really two parts to a ransomware attack. One, very hard to protect against if they somehow hack in. That's why we do the penetration testing Josh has been working on, is to shore up all our defenses so no one can go get that file in the first place. But if ransomware comes in through phishing attacks that then sort of opens that back door, we can, it's called rehydrating. You take all your old stuff and bring it back up to normal, and you can pick that one piece out without the ransomware triggering again. However, if they got hold of a group of data, that's where the ransom sometimes has to be paid, if they have 800 people's social security numbers because they got through. So think of it in sort of two ways of how ransom attacks tend to work.
And there's no perfect systems. Just as a side note, the Pentagon was hacked in a few years ago. So there are no perfect systems, but they've done a lot to try to shore up those systems.
Okay, give our attention to Mari Montgomery.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to I've spoken to all of you individually, but it is a pleasure to stand here and speak to you tonight. So I have to tell you, I have never worked in a district that has more community connections than Fullerton. And I raised my family in Old Town Orange, so that's saying something because it's a very similar vibe. The community partners I have had the pleasure in my tenure, short as it is here, has been amazing. So first off, one of our largest, and I have to say you are very blessed as a district to have the camaraderie you have with St. Jude Hospital. They are an amazing team to work with. I've been working with the Wellness Advocacy Council, and all of their goals is to prevent and to help reduce obesity in the community, get kids up, active and moving and that kind of thing. And of course, my job is safety, but safety kind of falls in place with that. They have been amazing. The most recent grant, which we'll talk about toward the end, is actually blessing our district. In many ways, I am trying to standardize the emergency backpacks in our classroom because I don't want to hear that one school's got this and another school's got that. You all are getting the same thing. So it's going to be a process. I can't do them all at one time. And they're being helpful and very generous as part of that grant to help with that. The Orange County Health Agency has a phenomenal program, Safe Routes to School program. I know Ruthie's been involved with some of that. And we have conducted walking audits in several neighborhoods at several schools. We started at the beginning of the school year at Maple and a community meeting there. It moved over to Richmond, where they involved the kids in the process, and their student council got involved and walked the neighborhood with the health agency and administrators. What makes you feel safe here? What makes you feel unsafe? What kinds of things can we do to improve? That kind of thing. Then the student council then gave a report to the community, and we were all invited to attend, and some of you did. And it was wonderful to see them light up and feeling like they were having a personal impact on their community. And it's very effective. It's a way to involve them in the process of change and teach them about leadership in many ways. Through that, we learn a lot, for whether it's traffic flow or parking issues or drop-off issues and pickup issues. There's a lot of things we learn from their perspective that we as adults may not see. That program will continue. We've been at meetings at Sunset Lane. We've been to Fissler. We've been to Golden Hill. We've been to Woodcrest. And there's more to come, and that process will continue over the next year. Fullerton Collaborative, another great community organization that is involved in everything, I can tell. I do attend those meetings and help with that health and wellness subcommittee and meet with them. It's a great way to learn about resources in the community and resources from the school district. It's a very collaborative effort. And then the Orangewood Foundation for Fostering Community Youth, we do a lot of things to help supplement and support those children, whether it's health related or emotional safety or physical safety, any of those parts and pieces. Next, my friend. Emergency drills. Okay, this has been very fun. So, Sergeant Bridges, my new best friend in this community, and the Fullerton Fire Department, and I meet once a month with the risk manager at the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. I meet with him the first Friday of every month. And through that has been a wonderful learning process in coordinating efforts in this community from an emergency standpoint. And we put that to the test in March over spring break. Whenever all the kids were gone, we coordinated a drill with the police department, fire department, and we have a sample of that. And you can thank Pablo for all the editing, but I don't think he's here tonight.
When an emergency unfolds at a school, quick action and clear communication are key. Imagine an adult finds someone unresponsive on school grounds. The adult first ensures the area is safe and checks if the person responds. Without hesitations, calls the school office and they dial 911, providing essential details to the dispatcher.
Office, we copy.
911, what's your emergency?
Yes, this is Nicholas Junior High. We have an unresponsive female, possible drug overdose.
Simultaneously, the school's administration is alerted through efficient communication tools, mobilizing internal safety protocols to manage the situation directly and efficiently.
510, can you have additional units and fire respond to the south side of the school off of Hill?
After marking was applied, still no response.
This prompt and organized response ensures safety and can save lives, highlighting the importance of emergency preparedness in our schools. Stay alert, stay prepared, and help maintain a safe learning environment for everyone.
Hi guys, what's going on?
We did 3 different scenarios that day. This is just one sample because I didn't want to spoil any surprises you might see in the future. These team members and community partners I meet with pretty regularly. Sometimes it's daily, isn't it? Sometimes it is. Sharing protocols, threats, law enforcement tips, primary contacts. At the beginning of the year, we went through and updated. Obviously, there's turnover in a variety of departments and who those primary contacts are. The fire department is incredibly cooperative and wonderful to work with too, and anything I need, I pretty much call Christy over there in community relations, and she's very helpful. So anyway, they're a great team, and there's more to come on that. Traffic. Okay, my second interview in this district, that's what I was told. Mari, how do you feel about traffic? They weren't kidding. So, traffic. I have to say, working with the city and their traffic department has been delightful. Anytime I call over there, they're like, okay, where do you need us to be? We've attended many community meetings, whether that was through some of our community school programs. Traffic studies have been conducted at 6 schools this year. The goal was to do 5. We did 6. They are done about every 5 years from what I can tell historically, so they're in a rotation right now. Different reinforced of the ballards at Maple has been done. School parking lot and pedestrian safety signage has been increased. There's been different recommendations working with the traffic department. No, I can't really have a lot of authority over widening roads or ripping out sidewalks. However, there are different things we try to experiment with, and they've been really good to work with. So, and we updated the lighting near Valencia Park Bridge. Oh, your turn.
This year, we've added a new feature to our safety, which was a school liaison officer. And at this time, I'd like to ask Sergeant Bridges to come forward and just talk a little bit about our partnership and what this partnership has meant for not only Fullerton School District, but the Fullerton Police Department and our ability to work together.
All right, good evening. So like Dr. Hammett said, this year we're very fortunate enough to have a school liaison officer at the police department working with the district. And before I go any further, I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the work of Officer Amanda Morley and Corporal Alexa Alcabara. They did a fantastic job with this program this year. To that, so a couple of the bullet points. So resources for parents, students, and administration. So by having the school liaison officer, you have a single point of contact. Whereas before, if there was an issue or an incident or something at the school or at a site where an officer was needed, then a call was made to the police department, and the call would go out to patrol. So we'd have no control over which officer would respond or the response times. I think response times is either on this one or the next slide. So, but by having a school liaison officer, you have the single point of contact. So you have familiarity with the officers. I've spoken to a number of principals, and they are delighted in the fact that they can pick up the phone and call the officer directly rather than having to call dispatch and explain the situation. And by doing that, the school liaison officer has a higher or faster response time than it would as far as a call going out to a patrol officer. The relationships that are built with the school liaison officer was incredible this year. Whereas the officer can go on campus, and a lot of times if the school liaison officer doesn't have a particular assignment that day, or they're not investigating something or doing an incident, in their free time they are encouraged to just go to different campuses, and the interactions that they have with the kids are incredible. So to where the kids can call the officers by their first name. Okay, just having an officer to be able to walk a campus during break time or passing period, and the power of the officer handing out a sticker to a kid is incredible. So we got more of that. We were able to do presentations for Red Ribbon Week. We did presentations for drug prevention. We did presentations for internet safety. There was a, go to the next slide. There was a couple of interactions with Officer Morley there. And later towards the end of the year, on that slide, the aqua-colored slide, Corporal Alcabara was at a particular school. It was the end of the year. There was something in the water. Tensions were high, but high tensions at the school. So Corporal Alcabara came up with a fantastic idea, and she went around talking to all the students and said, hey, look, okay, if you guys don't have any issues for the next 2 weeks, she says, I'm going to put together a program for you. Okay, kids were fine, and she came up with this idea of doing cops, pops, and pups. Okay, so what she did is we found a donor that was able to provide $600 worth of ice cream. So we went out, purchased the ice cream, brought it to the school. We found a fantastic DJ that came and played during their lunch. And then we also brought out our facility dogs. We had our facility dog from our police department, and we had a facility dog from the Seal Beach Police Department. Both brought their dogs, and the students loved it. And it was a great incentive for them to do the right thing and be accountable for themselves. So, but with that being said, without this school liaison officer or this program, I don't think that we'd have these things or these interactions with the students. And it's just been a great program, and I would love to see it to continue. Thank you.
One of the other points I'd like to speak to regarding the school liaison officer is we have 11,500 students approximately, and their families and everyone else that's involved with that many students on our campuses. And one of the issues that sometimes comes up are difficult things, things like child abuse, things like trauma at home or maybe trauma in a family. Having the school liaison officer have relationships and be able to work directly with students, and students feeling comfortable to work with the liaison officer has really made a difference for many of our students who have faced some very difficult situations. And we were all nervous when Officer Morley told us she was leaving and going to another district. We thought, oh no, Officer Morley's amazing. What's going to happen? And then along came Officer Alcabara. I'm like, wow, how did this happen? How did we go from one great officer to another great officer, both of which it's like Officer Alcabara was to come right in and step right into Officer Morley's footsteps and just continue with a great program, great continuity, and wonderful things happening for our students.
I just wanted to give one quick example. We had a student at one of the schools. The student had left campus and had made comments about hurting themselves. So the staff had followed the student and called the police department for assistance. It just so happened at the time the school liaison officer was at a different campus handling another situation. Officer Morley heard the call go out on the radio, so she finished up what she had to do at that campus and responded to the incident. So I happened to be in the area and I heard the call on the radio. So I showed up and I got there before Officer Morley did. So it was myself, a couple of patrol officers, the staff, and the student. And to say that the student was adamant about not going back to the campus is an understatement. And she was very animated and very upset. And she basically was telling off anybody there that she wanted to. I don't like you, I don't like you, and until Officer Morley showed up. Okay, as soon as Officer Morley showed up, she says, I don't like you, I don't like you. Oh, I like you. And her demeanor just changed immediately. And it's because Officer Morley had that relationship with her. She had been on her campus multiple times. She had talked to her multiple times. And she, at the end of it, she got in the car with Officer Morley, came back to the school, got the counselor there, sat down, and we were able to get whatever she had going on worked out. But what I'm getting at is, had Officer Morley not been there, had Officer Morley not had that relationship with her, we'd probably still be out there dealing with her. And that's the type of relationship that she fostered with this particular student and others. So, sorry, I just wanted to throw that one in there.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. It just shows the importance of relationship building with our kids. Could you tell us, right now the contract that we have for the next year to extend it says to be determined. Do we know if Corporal Alcabara is intending to remain in the position she's at?
No, unfortunately, the fast riser that Corporal Alcabara is, she just got a promotion. But that promotion requires, she's a field training officer, so that requires her to actually be in the field and train officers. So she's going back on a patrol, and I had to pull a couple of strings actually to get her just to fill in for that temporary spot. And like Dr. Hammett said, she did an amazing spot. But like Dr. Hammett said, we had a great person in there with Officer Morley. We had a great person in there with Corporal Alcabara, and true to form, we will put somebody else in there as well. Somebody else is good.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see.
So we've shared with you a lot of things that we're already doing, but in the Fullerton tradition, status quo is just not enough. So we will be doing more in the 24-25 school year. So one of the things that you're going to see this summer, if you drive by Pacific Drive, Raymond or Fern, you'll see fencing improvements. Those fencing improvements involve raising the height of the kindergarten fence and doing some other modifications to some of the fencing. Again, ensuring that the perimeter is secure and that we strengthen the whole single point of entry to each one of our campuses. With our employee and community partnerships, you'll see continued safety monitor and playground supervisor training. As we mentioned, we will continue to provide that to ensure that what we've already trained them on is reinforced, but that we're also providing new and updated training. On March 7th, I know you're already marking your calendars. We will be doing a community partner emergency drill with all community partners, including the high school, Fullerton Police, Fullerton Fire, and the city. It will be a full-fledged emergency drill that will involve all of our schools and will really give us a good idea of how strong our responses are. On July 1st, we will have in place our new workplace violence plan, which will also involve training and an employee reporting component. So good news, Mari has worked very hard on getting this together, has also worked with ASCIP and some of our other partners to ensure that plan's in place. We are standardizing and updating our classroom emergency backpacks. We've already received some donations to ensure that happens, but that every classroom, every school, including preschool and the after-school program, all have a backpack that contains the supplies that are needed to ensure the students in that class would be taken care of in the event of an emergency.
Does that replace the annual granola bars and Chef Boyardee cups that parents bring every single year?
It doesn't, nope. It just
Okay.
ensures that we have Stop the Bleed kits, we have bandages, we have all of the things we would need for any emergency, and if we needed to administer first aid, and that we have sufficient for every single classroom, every student.
Thanks.
The final thing that we're excited about as far as employee and community partnerships is we're working with the Sandy Hook Promise, and we'll be introducing a program called Say Something, which is an anonymous reporting system. It allows for reporting in the modern age. So you can report via an app, you can report by texting, you can report by calling. There's just a variety of ways that students can report, parents can report, staff can report if there's an issue on campus. So we're very excited, more to come about that. The great thing about Sandy Hook Promise is it's free to the district. And the other great thing is it's a very robust system. So it's 24/7 and provides very good training and resources for our students, our staff, and our community. So they have a call center, 24/7 call center, and then they have a response system and a calling tree that they call out. So depending on the level of what the response is or what the emergency is, they can either contact the school site or send a message if it's not absolutely urgent. If it's more urgent, then they'll contact district staff members, Mari, myself, who we will respond. Or if it truly is a emergency responder situation, police department, fire department, are contacted and there's an immediate response. But it's their phones are always monitored. They're always monitoring their app feed, their internet feed, to ensure that all of that is immediately responded to.
And their call center has a live person on the other end of the phone, which is different than a lot of other applications. And it's open 24/7, 365. So that's the beauty of that program.
So this wonderful program is an app on everybody's iPad?
We will have an app on the iPads, a link, and we'll also have a link on our website available as well.
Thank you.
All right, now I'll move over to Joshua.
So for the 24-25 year on the information technology side, we're going to continue phishing training and education. That's a big push that we realize needs to be patched, so we're going to make sure we improve in that area. We're also going to perform a cybersecurity tabletop training, which is going to include building an incident response plan, and that's going to be working with each department, working especially with Mari, trying to make sure if something was to happen, what that process is, and then testing that process. And then finally, we're going to continue pushing two-factor authentication. If you have yet to do it, I will probably be contacting you. But the goal is we're going to be 100% in all new staff. That's going to be the new norm for us to keep us protected.
And as promised earlier, on August 20th, we will be doing another presentation on our social emotional learning and our mental health programs and how we're responding as well to ensure that students are safe on that other side, outside of the physical and the training side that we've covered tonight. All right, any questions?
Questions from the board?
I have just a couple questions going back to when we spoke about intruder drills.
Yes,
Do we actually call them intruder drills?
we don't.
Thank
We
you.
will call them lockdown drills.
Okay.
So we do a lockdown.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, and it's actually not, we don't make it scary, we don't, nothing like that, we just let the teachers know this is a lockdown drill, and all of the students then practice the lockdown procedures.
Thank you. The other thing is, it's when we talked about the fencing and safety at our school sites, the corner of Lemon and Valencia Maple's kinder classes out there with the fencing has gone up, but it's open to that intersection right there. Are we putting bushes? Do you know? Are you putting big bushes or something around there for privacy? Is there some kind of way
Like
that
a
we can have
privacy
privacy
fence?
there with Maple?
Well,
and
the area is
Corner?
secured with a fence.
Yeah, but you could
And
see
so
it right
we were working with the principal there, and we'll be working with the new one to put up like a shield, whether it's plants or a banner, kind of shield it. So we're working on that.
And
But it is fenced in.
Yeah.
And covering fences is one of those mixed things,
Yeah.
because if we do have first responders out, it's much better if they can see what's going on the campus on one hand, but on the other hand, you don't want everyone to drive by and
Right.
see students. So it's one of those things that we really try to balance the two.
Got it.
Well, we do, because we don't know when any of those things could happen, and the procedures for all three are different. So we want to make sure that the students know what the procedures are in each situation. For example, with an earthquake drill, we don't want to evacuate the building right away like we do with a fire drill. And an intruder drill, that is, again, I don't want to give away too much of what we do, but a completely different procedure than either of those other two. So we want to make sure, if we have a real incident, that students know what exactly they need to do. Right. Right. And to not be scared of it. Right, and to not be scared.
Yeah, I had a couple questions, especially for Officer Bridges. I was curious about, well, for both of you, Dr. Hammett too, who's monitoring our cameras? Because I think in the beginning it was sort of principals were trying to do it, and then the conversation was, well, it's more for after the fact to kind of go back and see what happened. But I learned recently from Chief Radis at the city that we've contracted with another organization to do more live monitoring. A lot of voluntary organizations, businesses in town are going to be having their cameras monitored by choice. Is that something FSD has elected to be a part of? Could we have more eyes on our cameras? Would that help increase safety for our kids?
So I can't speak for FSD as far as the monitoring of the camera. So yes, we do have access to the cameras. We're not constantly monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so after the fact. But we do, like I said, in the mornings I'll check the cameras and check the safety, the perimeters, and it's also a safeguard too. So in the event of an actual emergency, so again, we're not monitoring it constantly, but however, in the event of an actual emergency, if officers have to respond to a particular campus, it's kind of twofold. The officers themselves, we can actually, in our cars, pull up a camera at a school on our screen. It's probably not the safest thing to do while driving. But it
partner
is
can.
Yeah, it is available. But where it would probably be more practical for us is while the officers are driving to the campus, our dispatchers can also pull up the cameras and relay real-time information to our officers while they're en route to a campus. So it's probably more practical that way.
So it might not be practical to have someone like a mall cop monitoring every camera at all times 24/7, but it's more in those emergency situations. Okay, I just learned about that new program that sounds like some businesses are choosing to kind of give more access to their cameras, but sounds like we've got what we need right now
I think
to
so. Yes.
create safety. I wanted to ask two with the SLO, the school liaison officer, of the two that we've had, have they participated in every drill? Are they pretty much a part of every drill that's happening and even the planning processes?
So I can speak to that. So yes, so Officer Morley worked alongside with Mari, and anything, she was in Mari's office. Mari would call Officer Morley, bounce back different ideas. That it was actually Officer Morley in the video there. And then that particular day, like Marty said, we did 3 different scenarios. So not only was Officer Morley involved with that, but my whole office was, and we went to 2 other sites, and we did the scenarios at the other sites. I think we did 3 schools that day, and Officer Morley was involved with, helping Mari come up with the scenarios, what we were going to do, the campuses. So yes, the school liaison officer was directly involved with that, the planning and of the scenarios.
As far as monthly ones, yes, we visited quite a few. I keep thinking I'm loud enough, so sorry.
It's for the translators, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need the translators to hear.
The monthly drills, yes, there were lots of field trips to campuses. Did we make them, like if Woodcrest was having one at the same time Pack Drive was? No. But we made as many
Over the
as
year.
we could prior to doing that drill in March, so that we had a better understanding of what's actually going. And we would stand in 3 different classrooms, because teachers sometimes do things a little bit differently depending on the setups in their classrooms, especially if it's a shelter in place or an earthquake drill kind of thing. And I will tell you, they're pretty buttoned up, I have to say.
That's great.
They do a really good job across the board.
So one of the things that we talked about for this school liaison officer to be a part of was the new Focus program that we introduced at the beginning of the school year. Can you tell us more about whether we've had a chance to use that program? Has our SLO been a part of that? How does that look this year?
So we rolled out the Focus program to our own district administrative team and staff here in October. And then we had agreement almost immediately from Fullerton Police to be involved. We had some technical difficulties between the county and between the Fullerton Police Department system in getting everything to sync up.
Like
So
if it was a county officer responding to an emergency versus a local
no,
Fullerton
like
police?
getting the
OCDE?
The
getting,
database.
right, OCDE to link up with the Fullerton Police Department and getting the 2 different technological systems to talk. So that was the hardest part. We had training planned, but the systems weren't talking yet. So we were unable, OCDE was unable to complete the training. However, in April, the training was completed. So now we have dabbled with the system, but we really will be doing that full rollout of that system, starting with the new school year now that we know everything works.
Okay, so it was on pause through
Yes.
that period.
Yes.
So this school year, we'll see how that works.
Yes.
Okay, and the new SLO will have a role in supporting that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Good. Last question for me, because we're going to be reviewing the contract later as part of the agenda item. I was curious, last year we agreed to pay $85,000 as 2/3 of the salary of this position, plus another $72,000 for a vehicle and equipment. This year, the contract is for $113,000. I'm curious if that's an increase in salary. Does that include some equipment, or why the change in price?
There has been a negotiated, I'll let you speak to the negotiated salary increase.
So for this year, obviously, the cost of the vehicle is not on there because it's already been purchased and acquired. And the difference in the salary is due to a contract raise that we had through city negotiations.
Okay, so all officers are being paid at a higher rate
Yes.
now?
Yes.
And is this the
And
Fullerton
that's-
School District now still paying 2/3 of what would be the annual salary of that SLO?
Correct, and that's
Okay.
on the higher end. So we quote it as a top step corporal.
Okay.
Now, depending on who occupies the position, it could be less. It's not going to
Okay.
be any more, but it definitely could be less.
Okay.
Depending on the rank
Yeah.
of the officer that's put in that position.
That makes sense. I mean, we want to pay our officers for the good work they're doing, and I appreciate that it's a 2/3 of a salary and that the city is also paying the remainder.
Trustee, do you have any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Yeah? No, I just want to kind of wrap up with a little bit. I'm super excited to continue seeing that our school district is focusing on emergency preparedness. I remember close to 10 years ago, I did some work with the Woodcrest Elementary there when I was back with Habitat for Humanity, and we had about 100 parents get involved with the reunification process there and kind of started something there. And it was really kind of elevating their voice of a need that they wanted to see happen and be able to understand it a little bit more. So kind of it being practical and it being part of the drill. So super excited that that's all happening. And then also the crisis communication component as well too, making sure that the community and the parents know kind of what that looks like to be able to understand it a little bit more. So amazing on that. And then Sergeant Bridges, again, just a testament to our police department. Know again what community and police relations look like, especially when they're in sync and they're really providing, transparency to the community and having them involved in what policing should look like in their communities. So a big kudos to you to be able to continue working, not just in our communities, but in our schools specifically as well too. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. Is that everyone?
And I just want to add into it. First, thanks to the whole team. We appreciate the partnership, obviously with the police department. Also, a big shout out to the fire department and the good work that we did with them as well. And a big shout out to Mari. We've started really a deeper relationship with the high school district and some of the communication that has come about, and that is in large part due to Mari. So we appreciate the good work that she's done. As you can see, the IIS staff has worked really hard in the area of cybersecurity. And again, it is not foolproof by any means, but they've taken some really active steps. This is not to say that somehow we've arrived in any way. We're on a journey, and each step of the way, we find holes, and we find ways and strategies to make us better. And so our commitment and what we're saying is not that we're perfect or that we've arrived, but we are committed to making it better. And what you see tonight is a commitment to each day and each month and each year getting better.